anything else?
We don't want to know!
We're dedicated, yes.
To our favorite shows!
Oh, my circuits!
Everybody loves Hippo
Scary Dog!
Pearson at Blurnsville!
Futurama!
Good evening. You are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premier podcast TV party tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight, our favorite show is WWE Elimination Chamber, or if you're in Germany, it's No Escape. Brought to you by the WWE Network, Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown on Fox, and the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Joining me tonight to talk about Elimination Chamber is the one and only from the Cosmic Treadmill and the Infinite Chris's, Infinite Chris. Damn it!
One of those places.
Chris Sheehan, how you doing, sir?
Hey, how are you? I'm really looking forward to talking about a show where it almost seems like there might have been a carbon monoxide leak in the arena, because I feel like just about every competitor, every superstar, everybody involved with the show is maybe like 2 seconds off of where they should have been. It's a very strange evening, a very strange show, and I'm looking forward to digging in.
You know, let me, I think a lot of these shows have like a theme coming out of them in terms of the responses, and this one was, people didn't like the way that it ended because, you know, Shayna Baszler walked around the chamber waiting for people to, you know, waiting for Asuka to come in and all of that, and she just kind of ran through the Riot Squad and all of that. And do you remember when heels used to be bad guys?
You know, I was going to say I only had one problem with the way the show ended, with the way that match happened, and I think the only way I would have changed it is Shayna should have started the match. Shayna should have did the same thing, gone through everybody, but I think there should have been bigger, longer waiting periods in between just to build up the hate, because she's a heel, damn it. She's supposed to be bad. She's supposed to piss you off.
I'd have done it a little bit differently. I'd have had Liv and Ruby Riott start.
Okay.
Then Sarah Logan. Then Shayna. And then have her blitz the entire Riot Squad.
Wipe them out. Yep.
in less than 5 minutes.
Sure.
And then have her kind of, you know, do exactly what she did. Just kind of pace in between the pods, give Natalya the finger, give Asuka the finger. And then as soon as Natalya comes out, she just runs over, smashes her in the pod, does exactly what she did, just beat her with the door.
Mm-hmm.
Throw her carcass into the ring, pin her, or choke her out, 1, 2, 3, and then, you know, toss her out like so much trash.
Sure.
And then do exactly what they did with her and Asuka. Because quite frankly, Asuka screaming in Japanese is the funniest, is just the best thing on wrestling right now.
Oh, amazing. Amazing stuff. So funny, so much character, so much animation. I know she's supposed to be a heel, but I it's just great.
And I think they would have gotten to where they needed to be with Shayna. I mean, to the degree that people were like, "Oh, there was too much downtime," sure, but this was less a match and more of an angle. Number one, to get Shayna over and make her look like an imposing threat against Becky.
Sure,
for WrestleMania.
But we're only allowed to do angles instead of matches in AEW. That's the only way. That's the only time we're allowed to do that. We can have an idiot walk around with his hands in his pockets and this is awesome, this is awesome. But if WWE tries to integrate a story into their match, it's the worst thing ever. It's one of those great internet double standards.
You're allowed to be ironic. You're not allowed to tell stories, goddammit.
Exactly. There you go.
But we'll come back to this because I do want to break it down a little bit more. Did you see the all 4 to 5 minutes of the Viking Raiders versus Hawkins and Ryder?
No, I didn't. I'm assuming the Viking Raiders won.
They certainly did, Ollie. So let's go to one of the best matches of the night. In 14 minutes and 20 seconds, Daniel Bryan defeated Drew Gulak by technical submission. There was a lot of dumping Daniel Bryan on his head and neck in this match.
No doubt.
There was A lot of like strong style, technical type wrestling between Bryan and Gulak. This is, Drew Gulak when he was involved was doing the catch point thing. Daniel Bryan, of course, known for as an indie darling for his technical wrestling and all of that. And I think they put on the best match you can put on of that style at this level of the card. I mean, they were kicking off the main card proper in 2020 in the WWE. That's a lot of qualifiers.
Sure.
But I think to expect something different, I think they wrestled at the level that they hit the level that they were given permission to hit. And,
I think that's fair. Yeah.
And so this ended up being a really good match. Some would say it's one of the best matches on the show. Was it a 5-star classic in the Tokyo Dome? No, but you're not really allowed to have those, especially when you're the curtain jerker on a pay-per-view.
Sure. No, I agree. I thought this was a great match, and not to beat a dead horse here, but as I'm watching Daniel Bryan get dumped on his head, the first thing that comes to my mind is how weird the reaction online is going to be, because I'm sure half the people I see are going to be saying we need more of this, and half the people I see are going to say we don't need any of this. So I was just kind of bracing for what the reaction was going to be. I enjoyed it. I think to suggest that we don't need to do those things is selling the performer short. I think Daniel Bryan, I think he knows how to land at this point. I think he might have more guts than brains in some regards, but I think he does know how to land and not totally take a header. And I think Gulak's enough of a professional to deliver those throws the way he did. But I thought this was just a lot of fun. I actually had forgotten that this match was on the card. So when Bryan's music hit, I was like, who is he wrestling? I had no idea that he was on the card, and was ultimately delighted that he was, and that Gulak was his dancing partner. I thought this was a lot of fun, great way to start the show.
Let me tell you, I could do with a lot less virtue signaling in wrestling.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, we shouldn't have guys landing on their head. Why don't you let the wrestlers worry about that?
I hear people when Big E does his spear through the ropes, everyone's like, oh, he should stop doing that. It's like, go tell him to stop doing it.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but when I used to take my kids to the circus when that was a thing.
Sure.
You know how many times I would grab one of the Chinese acrobats and say, please stop doing that?
0.
The guys on the motorcycles and the little globe thing just kind of walk in there and be like, hey, slow down. This is very dangerous.
When you're watching a hockey game and two guys get into a fight and they're just bashing the hell out of each other's faces for real, you always see the crowd go, hey, stop that. Calm down. Hey,
yeah, sure.
hey. Yeah, that always happens.
Boo. They shouldn't be fighting in hockey.
Right.
No one yells, we came for blood.
Yeah. You're ducking to miss teeth and, it's all good. But, the virtue signaling is very apt. Yeah.
I got one more.
Sure.
When I take my kids to the monster truck show.
Those poor cars.
Like, oh, don't try to do flips. You might land on your head, literally.
Gravedigger, you're gonna shorten your career, man.
Oh, God. Only in wrestling. Like, wrestling. The internet is probably the worst thing that ever happened to wrestling.
100%.
Including the murders. I'm
still with you.
It's like wrestling fans on the internet, murder. Worst things to happen in wrestling.
It's pretty bad. It is pretty bad.
Ugh. Moving on. Andrade versus Humberto Carrillo for the
still has both of his names. He still has both of his names. I can't believe it.
Yeah, he's not just Humberto yet.
Yeah.
I still like our name for him, Mexican Boss Baby.
Yes.
This is match number 977 from them.
Well, it is a series of 3,000, so in fairness, they still got a ways to go.
True. Because the booking in WWE, as near as I can tell, I'm going to tell a quick story here. Mm-hmm. When I went to a camp over the summer when I was a kid. I think it was in like high school, between 9th and 10th grade at the time. And now I'm going to use some salty language here. Mind you, this is a quote from another kid.
Mm-hmm.
Most of this was like a creative writing camp, but there were other things going on. But it was all like, lefty, liberal arts kind of things going on. I just happened to be in the creative writing part of it, but there was other stuff happening. It was all one big camp on this college campus, and I think it was like upstate New York or Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
It was so white. It was so very white. But there were two black kids. Mm-hmm. Two black guys. And wouldn't you know it, Chris? They were roomed together.
Those are some amazing odds.
And I'm telling this story because one of the black kids told it to me. They were joking around about the fact that they're the only two black kids in this camp, and they were roomed together. And one of them said to the other, it's like, you know what they're doing, right? What? Trying to keep all those niggas in a corner. I fucking died laughing when he said that. I remember it all these years later, in my 40s, and this was said, between 9th and 10th grade.
Sure.
I believe that message has filtered into the WWE, where it's like, only the Hispanic guys can wrestle each other.
It's true. It's true because it's always we got the four guys here on Raw where it's Andrade, Humberto, my main man Angel Garza, and Ray, and it's just a different combination of those four every single week. Even on Raw the following night, didn't we got Ray and Garza. So it's these feuds and these these cordoning off, they just refuse to end, and it's it's good that they can put on great matches with each other, but it doesn't really do anything. I mean, it's not. What's it doing for the U.S. title if we have Humberto fighting for this title and getting screwed out of it until we get to the point where people are no longer going to care whether or not he wins it, and then of course they'll give it to him and it'll bomb. And the producers will be like, "Oh, well, this didn't work, so what did we even bother?" But I don't see this as helping really anything. They do put on great matches, but it feels like this is supposed to be viewed as a big angle on Monday Night Raw. But in reality, it's more like the 1100 car crashes that we get at the beginning of Nitro during Hour 1, where it would be like Silver King throwing himself at La Parka for 5 minutes. Those matches didn't ultimately mean anything, but we kept getting them. And
at the very least, with the luchas on Nitro, they had enough where they could mix it up. So 1 week you got La Parka versus whoever, Silver King. The next week you would get
Liz Mark Jr. and Super Colo, yeah.
Right. You'd get Psychosis and Juventud Guerrero and Rey Mysterio and different iterations of that. And then you would get those guys versus the American.
Yeah, you'd throw a Jericho in there, or
Dean Malenko, Eddie. So I don't know if people know this or not because it was a long time ago, and you may have forgotten. But when Andrade was in NXT, he fought non-Hispanics.
He did, and
it worked out just fine. Believe it or not, when he would wrestle a non-Hispanic, the ring didn't explode.
It was him and Johnny were like one of the best matches of the year a few years ago, and I don't know what it is. It feels like they're just being put into they're being put into a petri dish and pushed to the side. It's like, okay, you guys do your thing. We got Brock to worry about over here. We're gonna deal with we're gonna have Aleister Black sitting in a darkened room for a little while. We're gonna deal with that. You guys do your thing. We're gonna watch Aleister sit.
How we never got Andrade versus Ricochet on
That's
Raw
true.
in a big feud, and
That's
just
true.
let them cut loose.
Sure.
Like Humberto Carrillo, like you give him a little bit of a shine, and then have him work with somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't helping either guy at this point.
No, it's not. It's not helping either guy. It's not helping the title. It's not doing anything for anybody.
All right, let's move on to now. If there were 2 elimination chambers, and I think the other thing that people have a problem with with this card was when you hear Elimination Chamber, we've been conditioned to believe is you're going to see a car wreck.
Sure.
And if they knew going into it that the women's one was just going to be Shayna Baszler cutting through everybody like a hot knife through butter, then they needed one that was going to be a car crash. So the purpose of this tag team Elimination Chamber, one, I think, was to give Miz and Morrison a big win. Feature more guys on the card. But also to give everyone that crowd-pleasing car wreck.
Yeah.
And I think they largely delivered on that. I thought this was a lot of fun. There were some really good high spots. A lot of people made a big deal out of Otis's fall out of the cage. I don't know. It looked a little telegraphed to me.
Oh, totally. Totally did. They and the more times they showed replays of it, the more you could see it. And it's one of those things where, like, you see the first replay and it's like, wow, if they do that a few more times, it's going to really expose this. And then they go ahead and repeat it like 4 or 5 more times. So it's it didn't seem to warrant him being laid out the way he was for so long.
Like that looks like if you've ever like walked off your front porch and missed a step.
It's true. Yeah, you go ass over tea kettle, but you get back up, and he did not.
Well, they reacted as if he fell off a 50-foot building.
Yeah, this was the Mankind spot. How do you learn to go through a thing of plexiglass?
So, like, yeah, he, like, stutter steps, and then he makes sure that, like, he falls just right. And I was like, oh, my God, he's dead. He's like, he missed a step.
That's it.
It's not that high off the ground.
No, and he did manage to, like, turn and, like, face up. instead of just taking the header and, you know, scuffing his forehead on the floor, he actually landed on his back. So, yeah, very, very telegraphed.
All that was missing from that was, like, feathers flying up in the air.
It's true.
Christ. But they continued to play off the Ziggler and Otis feud.
Which we all love, right?
Sure. Grand Metalik and Lince Dorado had a couple of good flippity-doos.
Sure. Including one off the top of the chamber.
I'm about sick of seeing the New Day and the Usos. And at this point, like, all I care... Anytime I see the New Day, all I care about is when are they going to break these guys up.
It's true. And I feel like... You know, they're almost like the next evolution of John Cena, where they're just so invested in them as baby faces that I don't know that there'll be a business reason to ever break them up, which severely handcuffs them. At the same time, it does also protect them. But I do want to see Big E do what he can do. I'm tired of seeing him do that sleazy dance and stick his tongue out. Or at least do that as a heel. You know? Right. The entire gimmick is, it feels, you don't know what year it is when you see them, because it's just like, okay, we've been seeing this since, when did it even start? Like 2014, 2015? I mean, it's been going on a very long time. But I mean, they've got all the merch, they got the podcast, they've got so much stuff invested in them that it'll be hard to break them up, unless they throw kayfabe out the window altogether afterwards. And it's like, well, they're still going to have their podcast, they're just feuding on TV, which I wouldn't put past them, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm super bored by the New Day now. And it's so funny because, like, I refer to this era as like the Shield era. You know, the guys at the top, the Hulk Hogan's were Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
I think the New Day might have actually been together longer.
Oh, for sure. For sure, yeah. The Shield were, relatively speaking, only together for, like a year and a half before Seth did his little turn? I mean, the New Day have been together for seemingly forever. Yeah.
This might, in fact, be the New Day era, not the Shield era.
It might very well be. Absolutely.
But I thought The Miz and John Morrison looked good here. And overall, like, I would say average to slightly better than average Elimination Chamber.
This is when I think the carbon monoxide leak started. Because, like, as soon as the bell rang here, it felt like everybody was just, like, half a step off. Kofi fell off the ropes, like, 3 or 4 times. Morrison almost botched the finish with that flip over for the pin. It just felt very, very off. It reminded me of like some of the early Money in the Bank ladder matches where like you had excellent talent in there, but it's like they just weren't comfortable doing what they were doing, so they second thought every move they made, and it cost them in things like being able to do a flourish or being able to be kind of spot on, and I feel like that kind of defined this match for me. And then we had Otis going through the cage, and then the guy who isn't Otis, who better never ever 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 get injured, because if he does, he'll be done, going crazy, and it was a good enough match. I'm glad Miz and Morrison won, but it just like I said, it just felt off. And I'm with you with the New Day and Usos. I'm tired of their "are they friends, are they enemies" sort of deal that they've been playing off and on for what feels like many, many years at this point. It's just very, very stale. And I think my only thing with this is I wish we had less slipshod tag teams like here. What is Ziggler and Rude doing together? Why are they?
Brief cameo.
Yeah, and what did Lucha House Party do to earn this?
They were available.
They existed on SmackDown. That's
Yes,
it.
pretty much.
I feel like this was thrown together because they needed to fill a spot because they decided to give Roman the opportunity out of nowhere, and I don't know. Well, they all filled their roles the best they could, and what are you gonna do?
The other thing I will say to you is, because you're not the first person to bring up that everyone was a half step off in this. But you got to remember, it's a standard size ring with some room on the outside, but maybe a little less room than you would normally have between the railing and the ring, and then it's surrounded by a cage made of chains. Now that usually, it gets crowded with 6 people if they're all in there. This had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 guys. That's a lot of guys in that relatively small space.
Sure.
And nobody got eliminated for the first almost 20 minutes of the match. The Lucha House Party, they were the first eliminated at 17 minutes and 15 seconds.
Yeah, after doing their big move.
Right. Yeah.
Thanks for doing your big move. Now get out.
Thank you for completing your gymnastics routine.
Thank you for almost dying. Now go back to the locker room.
But do you see what I'm saying? Like, that's 12 guys. There were at one point 12 guys in the match.
Sure.
And, if you've ever heard, there's a very famous bit that I think one of the guys from the OC said. It might have been like Luke Gallows or Carl Anderson. I don't remember which one. But a battle royal, or, when you build up in a Royal Rumble and there's a lot of guys in the ring, it's you and your good brother exchanging forearms.
Oh, yeah, Gallows said that, yeah.
Because you can't move. So I submit to you that you have a lot of big move guys in this match. Morrison can do flippity-doos. Kofi can do flippity-doos. The Usos do flippity-doos. Otis and Tucker are big move guys. The Lucha House Party guys do flippity-doos. Ziggler does flippity-doos. So the only 2 people have a more grounded offense and can kind of work small, if you catch my meaning, are Robert Roode and The Miz. So and Big E. So 3 out of 12, which means there's 9 guys in there at one point who are used to having, a big stage to work on and do their flippity moves, and now there's no fucking room for anything. And it's chaos in there, and a lot of them have never done an Elimination Chamber before. Like, maybe The Miz and Morrison have. Maybe Big E and Kofi have. But I don't think the rest of them have.
Oh, probably not. Ziggler, maybe.
Ziggler, yeah.
Yeah, but they weren't tag matches either, too, so I do concede that. But, even just, like, the grounded moves were just not on. Not on. And
I don't know if anyone thought about it. Like, I don't know if
maybe not.
Really... There's supposed to be an agent that helps you work out your match, and the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I wonder if anyone really thought this through. And they were just like, well, we'll just throw a bunch of guys in there and they'll be fine.
Hope for the best, yeah.
And
that's possible.
The agent was like, this is your spot, this is your elimination spot, this is your elimination, and that's kind of, and then they just kind of left the rest of it up to the 12 guys to figure it out. and it wasn't cohesive. There wasn't really a singular vision. It was just a sequence of finishes in relatively short order, because as soon as the Lucha House Party goes...
Oh, bing, bang, boom.
Yeah, then you have Heavy Machinery at 23, almost 24 minutes. About a minute or so later, Ziggler and Rude
Ziggler's
are out.
gone. Yep.
And about 4 minutes after that, the New Day are gone.
Yep.
And then the Usos are out about 3 minutes after that.
Yeah. So after the build, it was pretty quick to clear the ring.
Right. So I have a funny feeling that I have to give this one largely a pass. Because, I don't think this was well thought out. I don't think a lot of the guys in there really knew how to use the space and are used to having more space to do their shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it was largely like, go out there and put on a good show, guys. Okay. And they were trying to bumble fucking through it.
Absolutely. I definitely, I'll definitely give you that.
Aleister Black defeated AJ Styles with Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson in a no DQ match. In 23 minutes and 15 seconds. I have one question to start off the discussion of this match. If it's no DQ, why didn't the OC just beat the shit out of Aleister Black from the start?
Yes. 100%. I was watching this with my brother-in-law, and we're like, we're sitting there like, isn't this no DQ? It's like, why aren't they? They're not even coming in to break up pin attempts. They're just standing out there covering their heads. I didn't get why they weren't just. It wasn't just a 3-on-1 until it had to be a 3-on-1 to advance the angle, but just so weird.
Yeah,
it didn't even need to be a no DQ match. It could have just been them beating up what's his face, knock the ref down. I mean, they haven't done that in a little while. Just so weird.
Yeah, I don't. If you're out there with, and this, I never understood this about Shayna Baszler either. Quite frankly, Shayna Baszler had goons.
Sure.
And half the time she didn't use her goons. They were okay for a locker room beatdown or a parking lot beatdown, but they never helped her win a match because she was a badass. I'm like, then why do you have goons then?
Yeah.
If you think about when Edge was the rated R superstar, and his goons were Hawkins and Ryder, Hawkins and Ryder took beatings for him.
Oh yeah, they were ping pong balls.
Yeah, they were always getting involved in shit. Seth Rollins now, Buddy Murphy and the AOP take beatings for him.
Even Joey Mercury and Jamie Noble back in the day with Seth. Yeah, it was the goons got beat.
Right. Or why would you? Why would?
What's the point?
Yeah. This isn't. They're not the Four Horsemen.
No.
So how the booking of this match made no sense to me. Now if I recall, at the end of this, the Undertaker show. Yeah, that's right. They do the lights out thing because the Undertaker's magic. The lights come on. He instantaneously, beats AJ Styles, who is now helpless in the throes of the Undertaker. Undertaker chokeslams him, whatever. The lights go off again. He fucks off. Aleister Black crawls over, finishes off AJ Styles, and wins the match.
Mm-hmm. Wait, you sure that was the Undertaker, or was that old man Mark Calloway? Because that's who AJ wants, right?
I didn't even watch. I know I am aware of the promo on Raw, but where he was trying to
say that his nuts were in Michelle McCool's purse. Yeah,
he was shooting, bro.
He was shooting, bro. Absolutely.
So I guess we're getting Aleister Black and the Undertaker versus the OC. Hooray, hurrah!
And I think I mentioned this last time we got together, but WWE has a performance center, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't the Undertaker perform a chokeslam? It wasn't even like he struggled getting AJ up. He struggled putting him down. Like old man Mark Calloway couldn't have went to the PC for an afternoon and spent maybe an hour and a half chokeslamming guys that were AJ size, maybe a little bit bigger. Why he comes out on a pay-per-view, a show that we're expected to be paying for. We're paying $9.99 a month for this damn show. And he can't chokeslam a dude. That's his move. He can't chokeslam a dude who's small and who's one of the most athletic guys on the damn roster. He can't chokeslam him. Why? Building to the biggest show of the year. I just don't understand it.
I mentioned on a different podcast that I wish he had retired at the in Miami with the end
The
of the
Roman Reigns match?
No.
The Triple H match.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wish he'd retired there, but he didn't. And I think that was 29, wasn't it? Or 28?
It was, what's it? Shawn was 25-26. Hunter was 27-28. Maybe?
The first
Then
Brock and
Punk
Cena
was 29. Punk was 29. Brock was 30. So it was the end of the era. I think was 28.
Yeah, which was Miami.
Yeah.
And if he wasn't going to retire there, he should have retired when Brock ended the streak. Mm-hmm. And if he wasn't going to retire there, he definitely should have stayed retired after Roman beat him in Orlando.
Yeah.
At this point, like Terry Funk and Ric Flair, it's like, I don't even care about your retirement now.
Well, this one might stick. This one might stick, I think. You don't want to miss my last retirement match.
I'm a whore.
He is. I remember being so excited for his first retirement match against Bret Hart 23 years ago. Oh, Lord.
Didn't he wrestle Bray Wyatt once at WrestleMania?
The Undertaker?
Yeah.
Yeah, after Brock beat him.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't think he appeared on a single episode of Raw to build a match either.
So bad. Anyway, there's a lot of people saying that like AJ Styles isn't really working at the speed and ability that he is known for. That he's just kind of in neutral right now. In AJ Styles' defense, the WWE kind of teaches you to work big. Like it's kind of the difference between like working a community theater stage and working Broadway. Or playing in a club versus like playing in a coliseum or a stadium.
Yeah, you're expected to do the hits well. You don't need to pump to 11 though. It's all about the moments. It's all about what can we use in the highlight reel. They're not going to use just a transition move that looks awesome. They're not going to use that in a reel. It's all about can you do your forearm? Can you do your Pele kick? Sure, there you go. That's all we want out of you right now.
The other thing is when I say work big, you have to remember if you're sitting in a basketball arena or a stadium.
Sure. The cheap seats need to see it too.
Right. The information from where the event is taking place has to have time to reach you in the cheap seats.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't do 5 moves in 5 seconds because the people sitting up top will miss everything. So you have to learn to work broader, work bigger. But that also means working slower.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't hear people talking about that. Either they don't know it or they're not acknowledging it. But the WWE, I think, teaches their guys that, hey, this is the big stage. This is Broadway. You have to work. You are performing for the guy in the very last seat of the arena. So, whereas I think guys who come from the indies, when you're working smaller places, and you can work at whatever speed you're comfortable working at, and a lot of these guys go a million miles an hour. I mean, not even getting into that's not really wrestling, and doing a million moves in a million minutes isn't the best way to do things. I mean, that's a whole other argument.
Sure.
I think, when you're working a club, you don't have to worry about the information traveling miles to get to the back of the place because the place is the size of a living room.
Sure.
So I think Aleister Black and AJ Styles and Ricochet and a lot of the guys in the WWE, who everyone kind of complains that, these matches are all in neutral and it's not the style and pace and aesthetic that they're used to from even NXT, which also works a smaller stage 90% of the time. Mm-hmm. I think they are victims of their own success in that respect.
That's very fair. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so it's hard for me to kind of hold that. I mean, you can criticize it if you want. You can, it cannot be appealing to you. But that's like, well, I don't like Journey, or Okay, I don't know what to tell you. I like Journey, and I accept the fact that Journey is going to play.
Don't Stop Believin'.
Don't Stop Believin'. And they're not going to play. It isn't going to be fucking Ailstorm.
Not going to be B-sides, yeah.
Doing pirate metal in a club. And so a lot of what I just said goes to this next match. The Street Profits versus Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy, where, again, I think people are expecting to see the Street Profits that we saw in NXT.
Okay.
I don't think they're allowed to be. I don't think they want Montez Ford doing, 90 feet vertical leaps. And so I think they work the style of match that you're trained to work on the big stage. And
sure.
I think these guys put on the level best match that they can. Now, the big criticism on this one, from what I've read, is the inclusion of, and this was to further the angle, KO, Kevin Owens. And, so I'll just pose this as a question to you. Do you think it took away from the Street Profits win to have them win because Kevin Owens interfered?
A bit, yeah. I understand that they see the money in the Seth and Kevin Owens WrestleMania match, if that's the way they're going, which it seems like they are. But I gotta say, that might be the match of the year that I care the least about. I mean, they could bring back Mini Vader and have him fight real Vader, reanimated, and I'd care more about that than a KO Seth Rollins match. I think this feud is hurting them both. I think it's sending them both further down the card than either of them deserve to be. And it feels like just a time killer, which isn't what you need at WrestleMania season. I had absolutely no interest in this. The whole match, actually, Kevin Owens' inclusion here and expected inclusion ruined the match from Jump Street, because the whole time this match was going on, I wasn't paying attention to it. I just knew it was going to be a screwy finish. Whichever way it was going to finish, I knew it was going to be screwy, so I really couldn't get invested in it from the time the bell rang.
I think WrestleMania should actually be Seth Murphy and the AOP versus the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders in an 8-man tag, which I know they just did that on Raw.
Yeah.
But maybe do it again, but make it a 4-on-4 and put the tag titles in up for grabs in a ladder match.
Okay.
So it'd be a little screwy because you'd have the and maybe they can still do this with the Street Profits AOP and the Viking Raiders, a triple threat ladder match for the tag titles. But I would have rather have seen Kevin Owens get peeled off of Seth, since for the same reason that we talked about with Andrade and Humberto, put Humberto and Kevin together. Can you see the fucking interactions between Selena Vega and sloppy fat wrestling dad Kevin Owens?
Sure.
Hey, you Spanish guy, I'm gonna fight you because I'm Kevin Owens. And Selena's like, "You're fat. You're not fighting my guy." And just going from there. I would rather see Andrade and Kevin Owens tear it up at WrestleMania. At least that would be something fucking new. And then do something else. Have Seth Rollins and Murphy ringside during a triple threat match between the Street Profits, the Viking Raiders, and AOP. Or again, do a 4-on-4. Sure.
Yeah, just something different. I think we say this every time. Everything is just so procedural and paint by numbers. And I mean, this entire card was a formality. Because it was just, everything's already been written. We already know it's been fated to be at WrestleMania if the virus doesn't wipe it out. But it's just
no one didn't think Luke Skywalker wasn't going to blow up the Death Star.
Of course.
But there's a satisfaction in seeing the hero win the day. So I don't care that if you kind of go into all these matches you kind of know who's going to win, because it's to me it's the journey, not the destination. The problem is, not only is the destination not all that interesting, the journey isn't
boring
that
as hell
either. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no, there's no real climactic moment. It's just like, well, we're stacking Legos. That's all we're doing, and it's about as dramatic as stacking Legos. It's like, okay, well, there's a blue one on top of the white one. Okay, what now? Well, we'll put a red one on top of it. Doesn't matter. It's just, God, I watched this, the ending here, and you have Owens do his stunner, and what disappointed me here was that he was holding this thing of popcorn, right? He had this thing of popcorn. After he stunned Rollins, he didn't go to the corner and chug the popcorn like Austin would a beer. That bugged me. I thought like that was such a missed opportunity, and it really pulled me out of investing in this garbage.
Or like dump it all on Seth Rollins and like put the bag on his head.
Do something. But no, I this match, I think the only guy in this match that I actually enjoy is Buddy Murphy. At this point, the Street Profits are they're a means to an end, and Seth still sucks. So
there needs to be a rule that if your intention is to have a tag team or a singles match at a pay-per-view, they can't touch for the month prior in a real
please match. or even like even taking that a step further, if you have a blood feud, let's not put these guys in the same, let's not give them a mixed tag or put them on the same team, or just keep them apart. Do what you can to keep these people apart, so then when they do actually collide on a show you're supposed to be paying for, it means something.
Right. Because I think by the time we saw this, like, didn't the Street Profits and Seth and Murphy fucking wrestle like two other times
every week?
This?
Like every week for the past month, they've been in some sort of interaction, whether it was one-on-one or tag. And it gets old real quick. It's and this means nothing. This is, it's funny because I watched this with my brother-in-law, and every time like there was like one of those car crash moments where like somebody got thrown out of the ring, I would say Raw rolls on next, because it felt like we were going to go to a commercial, because it felt like a Raw match. It felt like there was no heat. It felt like just something that would be interrupted by a commercial, and it's just meaningless. And I mean, we could spend hours talking about that, but just in this instance alone, it was just like, why is this here? Why? The only reason it was here was to forward the Seth and KO deal, and you could see it from a mile away. It was just no biggie.
So I haven't been watching SmackDown since the day after Super Showdown. We talked about that when we reviewed Super Showdown. And I was like, okay, the follow-ups were not, were to me very lackluster, and I just do other stuff on Fridays, like sleep. So I was not aware Braun Strowman was the Intercontinental Champion. I was minimally aware that Sami Zayn was kind of the Flavor Flav.
Had a faction.
Was the Flavor Flav to Nakamura's Chuck D. And I wasn't even aware that Cesaro was part of that group. Oh, how the mighty have fucking fallen. Yeah. So 3-on-1 handicap match. This is the Andre the Giant special, except that Andre would actually win these matches. Mm-hmm. But they put the title on Sami Zayn, and if he plays like the fucking chicken shit heel, which he did somewhat in this match, where he had Nakamura and Cesaro kind of doing his dirty work, and then he got to reap the benefits. That's fine. Mm-hmm. I guess we're going to see Sami Zayn versus Braun Strowman at WrestleMania in some way. And he'll probably regain the title, because this time it won't work. He'll somehow manage to overcome 3 guys beating him up.
Very likely.
I'm not going to lie, I was not particularly invested in this match.
No, it was not a whole lot to invest in, which sucks, because out of the 4 guys, I think they're all really good. Cesaro, one of my favorites. The only thing I dig about this is that if they keep going the way they're going, and they have Sammy eke out wins, and if he does manage to make it through Mania, or maybe they're just thrown in the Andre Battle Royal or something, because the Intercontinental title gets defended 1 in every 8 Manias or something like that. They could do something where Cesaro and Nak get a little tired of Sammy's crap and tired of having to fix him up and save his ass, and maybe we'll get a face turn for these guys. I think I'm not one for flip flopping heel and face, but I think Nakamura was better as a babyface. I think Cesaro was way better as a babyface with his little section and all that stuff, and this just feels like maybe they're building towards something like that, because Sammy, while I do like him as a babyface, he does make a really hateable heel, and I think he's doing really good with what he's got now. I could do without the Castro imagery. I don't know what he's dressing like a guerrilla fighter or something, but I think that if they keep it going this way and they play like the old school wrestling, the heavies get tired of the small dude ordering them around, or the relatively small dude ordering them around, it could be something good. I don't know what you do with Braun after this. I don't know if you have him go up against Reigns. Who knows what you do with Braun? But I think are we getting a shakeup a couple weeks after WrestleMania?
Probably. I mean, they usually do the NXT call ups, where they rob that roster blind.
Yeah.
Hey,
so maybe they'll
all this work that you put in, it's for nothing.
Yeah, we're not even gonna give you any vignettes. You're gonna be fighting Dolph Ziggler for 6 weeks. Good luck. But maybe they'll do something where they shake it up and they throw Braun somewhere else or what. But I thought I thought the ending was really cool. I liked that tandem finish they did with the vertical suplex into the haluva kick. It was convincing in keeping Strowman down. But
I think they should bring up Cameron Grimes, put him with Braun Strowman, have them both wear like weird hats, and say they're both from the True Knot.
The what?
It's a reference to Dr. Sleep. Did
the
you
who?
happen Dr. Sleep?
I don't know who that is.
Okay, so Dr.
Or what
Sleep,
that is.
Dr. Sleep was the sequel to The Shining.
There was a sequel to The Shining?
Yes, Rip Van Winkle.
You're shitting me.
Yes, over the fall, there, I think around November, as a matter of fact, is when it came out with Ewan McGregor. Now there was the book Dr. Sleep was the sequel to the book The Shining, and then they adapted it into a movie.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yes, and the villains. So are you? Can you Google while you're talking to me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, Google Dr. Sleep: The True Knot. KNOT.
Dr. Sleep: The True Knot. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
I see a funny hat.
Yes. Hence the Cameron Grimes joke.
There you go.
So yeah, I want to see like Cameron Grimes, Braun Strowman, and call up a couple of other guys that aren't doing shit that look kind of raggedy. Maybe Gallus, and they can be the True Knot in the WWE.
There you go.
It's a long way to go for a lame joke. You're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
And we get to our main event, and we talked about this at the top of the show, and it bears repeating. This was Shayna's coming out party. Can I don't need to talk about the match. This wasn't really a match. She fucking,
no.
The girls bumblefucked their way through this until Shayna Baszler choked them all out. She was particularly brutal to Liv Morgan and Natalya, which was awesome. But I want to talk about Shayna Baszler for a second. Because Chris Sheehan and I have talked about... You're Chris Sheehan. Chris Bailey and I have talked about this in the past when we did like NXT reviews, and you've been on for some of those, and some of those you haven't.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to remember the good old days.
Okay.
So let's talk about that for a second.
Let's do that.
Before the NWO, when being a bad guy was cool.
The new generation.
When bad guys had no charisma and you hated them and wanted them to go away. You wanted them to get beat. Like, think about Shawn Michaels when he was with Sherry.
Okay.
Who didn't want to see Shawn Michaels dragged from behind a truck?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, one could argue, well, he had shit tons of charisma, but I think more than that, he really made you hate him.
He was hateable. Absolutely.
Ric Flair, for the most part in his career, really made you hate him.
Mm-hmm. Tully Blanchard. Mm-hmm.
You know, like the Heenan family, a lot of them were kind of thugs revolving around Bobby. But they were just... I mean, King Kong Bundy was your main event of WrestleMania 2 and worked a lot of matches with Hogan during his time. King Kong Bundy was not exactly charismatic.
No, he was just big.
Andre the Giant, you know, his aura came from his size, his mystique. But Andre the Giant, not exactly, like, tremendously charismatic as a heel.
Not good on the mic, no.
Big John Studd, I know I'm going all the way back here, but like, even if you looked at, like, the first WrestleMania with Hogan and T versus Paul
Piper and
Orndorff.
Orndorff. Yep.
Yeah, Piper was, like, all charisma, but Paul Orndorff was just a body.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he was just a brutal-looking bodybuilder dude. He looked good in the ring across from Hogan.
Absolutely.
So, all that to say, we come from a long story tradition of heels being shitty people with no charisma who were just brutal and threatening to the babyface. Your babyface had all the charisma. Your babyface was the one connecting with the fans.
Yeah.
All your heels had to do was present an element of danger. So to that extent, I don't know what everyone's fucking problem with Shayna Baszler is.
No, it's the one match that like really sucked me in as a kid was my father would tape Saturday Night's Main Event because it was on so late, and I remember seeing a match between Hulk Hogan and Bad News Brown.
Oh, I love Bad News.
God, Bad News Brown beating the shit out of Hogan, picking him up by the neck, pointing to the crowd and saying, "This is your hero? This is your hero?
Yeah.
This is the guy you want to see win?" And the crowd was going nuts. And I'm like, that's a bad guy. That has informed how I view wrestling heels ever since. And this is like going back 30-something years. We don't get that anymore. And here we're getting presented with something kind of like that. And, you know, the wrestling internet is shitting on it.
What's funny is a lot of Shayna's shtick, Brock's been doing.
No doubt.
Brock gives no fucks. Brock's like, I'm better. Brock is like the MJF of... You don't know who MJF is, do you?
I have no idea.
Okay. So MJF...
Oh, is he that idiot who gave the finger to a kid?
Yes.
Oh, screw that guy. What a dick.
He's amazing.
Oh, please. Yeah. If I look at an AEW poster and don't want to punch someone in the face that's on it, that'll be the day that I actually have to sit down and watch it. These guys have the most punchable faces on the planet, not in the good way, not in the Shayna Baszler kind of way. This is just like douchebags. I don't know which one's Rick and which one's Morty, and I don't want to know, but I'm sure all these guys do.
MJF's big catchphrase, "I'm better than you and you know it." Right?
Okay.
And just as an aside, this is a small side rant. Brock Lesnar's UFC career, not great. Let's be honest. He lost his debut to Frank Mir.
Yes, very quickly.
He then fights a rather uninspiring decision against Heath Herring.
Don't know who that is.
Nobody does. Doesn't matter. He then wins the title. He then pounds Frank Mir into... I feel like he was losing the Randy Couture fight until he punched Randy once in what looked like Randy taking a dive. Like, I remember watching that at, like, Hooters. And it was like, Brock was not doing great in that fight. Randy Couture was kind of schooling him. And then Brock just threw this, like, half-hearted punch. And Randy Couture just went flying backwards. And even Brock was surprised he hit him. Like, and I remember everybody at that table, and these were not exactly, like, learned MMA fans, but everyone was just like, he just fucking throw that fight.
He just went down like a sack of potatoes.
So now Brock's the champ. He fights Frank Mir, pounds Frank Mir into, you know, like, legitimately beat Frank Mir. I gotta give him credit for. He then gets the itis. He comes back. He gets murdered by Shane Carwin, but because he's Brock Lesnar, despite the fact that he was legit unconscious and said so in his memoir, somehow doesn't lose that fight. And then Shane Carwin gasses out in the second round and is choked out by an even more gassed out Brock Lesnar.
Well,
And then
he's on the cover of the video game, so he's got to win.
Right. Then he fights Cain Velasquez, and we've all seen Breakdancing Brock.
Yes.
And he fights one more time. He fights Alistair Overeem, who kicked him.
Overeem. Yep.
Sorry, yeah, Alistair Overeem, who kicked him in the itis, and he went screaming back to the WWE. I love Brock Lesnar, but his MMA career is not exactly a thing of dominant victories.
No, it's got some great highlights, but and you can spin it to look really impressive.
And
but
they have.
Exactly, 100%. But if you look at it match by match, fight by fight, yeah, there's more to the tape. Yeah.
And that's not even getting into this last embarrassment with Mark Hunt.
That's one where he took some time off of WWE, right?
Right.
With where he was on the performance enhancers or whatever.
Yeah. And where he was trying to not get hit by Mark Hunt. Anyway, but because Brock, was already, like, I just watched the Ruthless Aggression documentary on him, which actually wasn't bad. Like, that first episode's a pile of garbage.
Absolutely.
The one on him in Evolution actually wasn't too bad.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul Heyman leads the discussion by saying, the thing you have to know about Brock Lesnar is that he was only here for 2 years. And
with a tear in his eye, he says that.
And the impact he made was immeasurable in that 2 years. And he's 100% correct.
If he never came back, that's a Hall of Fame run.
Yeah.
Even if
really
he never came back. Yeah, absolutely.
So he has those 2 hot years where he's basically the top guy in the WWE. And then he goes to the Vikings, which, he I don't think he saw like a regular season game. I think they cut him. But
I think he was like in the last round or something. Yeah.
Yeah. But still a walk on in an NFL team to get that far apparently is a feat of amazement.
Impressive, yeah.
And then he has I think like one MMA fight in Japan before he jumps the rail and like demands a UFC contract from Dana White, who I'm sure thought he was being mugged. There's a gorilla on the loose. Oh wait, that's Brock Lesnar. So now and then I just went over his UFC career. So with some creative editing and some creative storytelling, you have a guy who legitimately seems and presents like a bona fide ass kicker.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the character he plays in the WWE. And that's why he's able to be like, I'm better than all of you. Go fuck yourselves.
Sure.
And he can dance in the ring and goof around because he's still perceived and has a manipulated history of legit ass kicker.
Mm-hmm.
Shayna Baszler doesn't have a great MMA career. She really doesn't.
Okay.
I think she... I'm looking at her MMA
rankings or
her career.
Yeah.
She ended her last fight at 15-11.
Okay.
26 matches, 15 wins, 11 losses. And she lost the last 4.
Okay.
She was choked out by Alexis Davis, punched out by Betch Correia, TKO'd with leg kicks by Amanda Nunes, and then fought in Japan and was decisioned in 2 rounds.
Okay.
So my point here is, and I want to say, like, yeah, her UFC career, not counting, like, her stint in The Ultimate Fighter, which was lackluster, to say the least. She fought on UFC 177. That's the one where she fought Betch Correia, and it went poorly. Mm-hmm. She fought on a fight night, lost to Amanda Nunes, and that was it. Okay. And her one fight in Strikeforce, and I'm not even going into all these other lesser-known cards that she was on. She's just the big ones where she could have made an impact. She fought once in Strikeforce on a challenger card, nonetheless, and lost to Sarah Kaufman.
Okay.
So, and she's one of the many people who Chris Cyborg killed.
Okay.
So my point is, and I do have one, is that she's presented as like a Brock Lesnar who's a legit killer, but if you actually look at her MMA career, it's like it's not great.
It's a good thing nobody does. the random fan doesn't. Yeah, 'cause I wouldn't know. All I know is what Michael Cole tells me.
Right. So I'm bringing all that up to say this. She is presented as somebody who came from another sport, was allegedly a killer in that sport, and has come to wrestling to take on a new hill to climb, a new mountain to climb,
Sure.
a new place to conquer. And they gave her this long-ass title run in NXT.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're transitioning her to the main roster, and they're immediately putting in her with Vagina Stone Cold. If this isn't the best way to get her over as somebody who gives no fucks, who is better than you, and you know it, is a legit killer, and is an actual threat to Becky Lynch, who a year ago beat an actual legit Hall of Fame mixed martial artist in Ronda Rousey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else they're supposed to do with Shayna Baszler. And as we said at the top of the show, you're not supposed to like her.
No.
You're supposed to be chomping at the bit, craving, drooling, praying.
You want to see Becky break her arm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what they're building to. They're building this to have Becky, Becky must pose. Becky's got to break that arm or do whatever. That's what they're holding out hope for. And to your point about her legitimacy, that's one of the good things about. I know a lot of people kind of poo-poo the very, very, very long NXT title reign Shayna had, but that as I just said earlier, I was saying it joking, but I believe what Michael Cole tells me because that's all I know. A lot of the fans are the same way. So if they know that Shayna had this unbelievable run in NXT, that's enough to make her legit. That's enough to give her the background. They don't need to go back into her MMA standings or her MMA rankings or her history. They just know that she dominated, the third brand of WWE for a very long time. And I think, how else do you bring her up? Do you have her just show up and fight Liv Morgan? Do you have her challenge Lacey Evans? Do you have her attack Naomi from behind? What does that do to make an impact? This is really the only way they can do it, especially after they had Shayna win at the Survivor Series during the brand warfare garbage. How else do you bring her in?
And by the way, she lost her title to Rhea Ripley.
Yes, she did. I don't know that bringing her in as a vampire or a zombie or whatever they were doing with her was the smartest. I've never seen, her better than I do. Has she ever feasted off someone's blood in an MMA fight?
Well,
is that part of her history?
No.
Okay. I haven't checked her Wikipedia page yet, so I don't know. But I think that was kind of silly. But I think she attacked the right person. Really, this was her moment. This was they're building to a match. They need to make you. If she would have just eked out a win over people that Becky had, wipes out in seconds or minutes, what does that do? How does that make you excited or fearful of her confrontation with Becky at Mania? If she doesn't show that she's dominant, that she's better than everyone else, that nobody else can even make her break a sweat, where's the drama? Because, again, this isn't real, so there's that too. But where's the drama if she is just barely squeaking past Natty Neidhart?
Right.
There's no drama.
Beat like a pulp, by the way.
Absolutely.
The
I would
fucking
hate to
Riot
see her
Squad has
record.
been dismantled 8 ways from Sunday.
Oh, yeah, totally. Totally. I forgot Sarah Logan still worked here. When I saw her come out, I'm like, oh wow, I forgot all about her, because I've been expecting her to show up with the Vikings, and I figured when they didn't, she was just gone, and here she was in a main event on a pay-per-view. But
here's the other side to this. How many of these girls have worked Elimination Chambers before? I'm gonna go ahead and say none.
what I don't even know what other Elimination Chambers there have been. There was a tag one, the tag title one, right? Where Sasha and Bailey won. And I don't know, maybe there was a Riot Squad in there? Maybe? I don't know. But
Yep.
maybe Natalya...
There was a tag team elimination chamber last year.
That was where they introduced the tag titles.
Right. That had Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan.
Okay.
Okay, Natty wasn't even in that one.
Okay.
Let's see. The year before that, 2018, you had an elimination chamber for the Raw Women's Championship that had none of these people.
Okay.
Do you see it? Do you sense where I'm going with this?
Mm-hmm. Now, this was just meat. They were all just meat.
Okay, there was no girls' elimination chamber in 2017.
So 2018 probably was the first.
It looks like they didn't do one in 2016 because the next one down is 2015. And hey, look who's on the poster at Ryback.
Hey.
Guess who didn't get an elimination chamber that year?
Who's
the
that?
Girls.
Hey.
So, you get what I'm saying here? You kind of what I was saying about the tag match, where you can't just be like, and you're doing an elimination chamber, and magically it's going to be good. I mean, if you have somebody who's, like when they did the first one, you had Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Rob Van Dam. I think Kane was in that one. Jericho.
Booker T, Jericho, yeah.
You had guys who had shit tons of experience in the business.
Mm-hmm.
They had just invented the thing. I'm sure this was like the match.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the one where they were like an anointing, Shawn Michaels as the comeback kid.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you that one was meticulously planned.
Oh, gotta be. Gotta be.
And so you decide, well, this year we're going to have a women's elimination chamber with none of the people who's ever been in it before. And a lot of them don't have a tremendous amount of experience even on the main roster.
Sure.
And then people were wondering, like, why they didn't have, like, A, a real match, B, like, why Shayna just cut through everybody, C, like, why wasn't it any good? There's no way it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Sure. Oh, I'm with you 100% here. In my, perfect world here, this wouldn't have been a match at all because you would have had the Roman match instead. You would have had Roman winning to get the shot at Goldberg, and Shayna would have just been given a match with Becky because Becky would have demanded it because she had a chunk of her neck bitten off. I think that was probably enough to get Shayna a match at Mania. I don't think this was necessary, especially when it was absolutely not in any sort of question. Not that the Roman match would have been either. But this just feels like I don't even know how to put it into words here. I don't know why this match just kind of defies explanation. That's about it. That's it. It's so they can show 15 seconds worth of film of Shayna tapping or choking out 5 girls within
Liv Morgan
10 minutes.
CTE.
Yeah, that too.
I think maybe had her and Asuka gone a little bit longer and Asuka gotten a little bit more offense in, you could have made the argument that, well, this really was just a protracted way of getting to Shayna versus Asuka, and then Asuka putting Shayna over. But Asuka was injured.
Yeah, she had a wrist injury. Yeah.
I don't know. Do you want Shayna going like 20 minutes on a main roster match right now? Because there's another element to this. Why can't Shayna be a little bit more mysterious? Why do we have to? Why does Shayna?
Yeah, we don't want to ruin the
30-minute matches right now.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to ruin the mystique here because, I mean, for a lot of the crowd, she is new, and new is sometimes correlated with scary. And I think that people could be very scared of her and not know what she could bring to the table here, which puts Becky's title reign in jeopardy for perhaps the first time in a year. I think that I don't know. I think this went fine. I think this was what it needed to be. We disagree with the order of entry, but we get to the same spot.
Yeah.
I think that this is what it needed to be. It needed to be Shayna's showcase where she just steamrolls through the roster and presents herself.
One of the things about this match, it made me interested in seeing the Riot Squad in a triple threat match at Mania, like on the kickoff show or something.
That'll probably happen. Yeah, that'll probably. I mean, they've got 72 hours to kill, so that'll probably happen.
Yeah. Yeah,
There'll be 8 people in the crowd for it, but yeah, it'll happen.
Yeah, something's still happening. I'm not doing a fucking empty arena WrestleMania. Live from the Performance Center.
That's tonight.
Yeah.
That's NXT tonight.
I will not be watching.
I'll be fast forwarding through it tomorrow. It's okay.
Yeah, I'll be watching that on DVR in fast forward.
Yep.
So overall, I really liked Elimination Chamber, and I put on Twitter, I thought like the Shayna match was like the best chamber ever because I've seen a lot of car crashes, I've seen people fucking do flippity doos, I've seen all that. I have, the other Elimination Chamber match that I remember that I have a vivid memory of is the one where I think Edge took somebody. Edge had lost his title.
Yeah, he beat Kofi up. Yep.
Yeah, and he beat up Kofi, he took his spot, and he ran in there, and he won the chamber match.
Yep.
That was fucking great.
Sure, because it told a story.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, there's storytelling here. They're building somebody up. They're giving her some mystique. They're making her a legit challenger for the belt. I don't understand, like, unless, again, I mean, to the degree that, like, I can see people, like, I didn't like it because it wasn't a real match. I didn't like it because I hate Shayna Baszler. Like, I don't know what to say to those people, but this whole discussion has basically been why they're wrong.
Yeah, we talked about the fandom on the internet and just what terror they bring. I think a lot of that has to do with a lot of armchair booking, and to an extent, we're doing that right now as well. But I think that we're just so conditioned to think that whatever WWE spoons onto our plate is wrong. No matter how well it works, no matter how well it's taken by the crowd, no matter how much the crowd is in the palm of their hands during it, I think we have way too much armchair booking, way too much just flat out knee jerk, difference of opinion on WWE matches, products, gimmicks, angles. We're just so very knee jerk about it now, and I can compare this Elimination Chamber to the Brock Rumble we had last month or 2 months ago, whenever it was. They took an established gimmick match and they turned it on its ear.
Yep.
Was it 100% successful? Maybe not. But they tried something different because one of the main complaints, and we've said it before today, is that this is just so procedural. You know what they're going to do, but when they turn something on the ear, we all like rise up and be like, "How dare you?
That's the thing.
You're ruining it." Yeah,
push
so
new people. Why do we have to say the same old people all the time? And then they push somebody that's like, "Well, not that.
Not
person."
This one." Yeah.
Right. They're
100%.
They're supposed to be essentially trying to satisfy like an audience of fucking one. So overall, I'll let you have the final word because I've been talking a lot. What's your assessment of this pay-per-view overall?
A lot of it felt like it could have been a Raw or a SmackDown, but the big matches, they forwarded the stories, which I suppose is what they're supposed to do. As little as I really care about whatever Seth Rollins is doing, they got to get to Mania, and I can't hold that against them. I personally don't enjoy what they're doing with it. Every match seemed to have a purpose, and that's really that's really all you can say. I did, like I said, I liked the Women's Elimination Chamber. For the most part, I like the Men's Elimination Chamber, and when the show's called Elimination Chamber, you should at least like those. So, thumb in the middle, angling toward up.
Yeah. I thought it largely achieved its goal of furthering the stories and generating interest for WrestleMania.
Yep.
Who could ask for anything more, Toyota?
Mm-hmm.
All right, tonight, myself and Jesse Starcher will review the new Body Count album, Carnivore. David Wright and I will review the new Harley Quinn animated show, first 13 episodes. I'll be talking Ring of Honor's 18th anniversary show with Larry Zonka on Friday on his podcast. Saturday, John Warren and I will be reviewing Shakur Stevenson versus Miguel Mariaga. Next, we just dropped our Onward review on Damn You Hollywood. We reviewed Harley and Ivy Meet Betty and Veronica. Last week, we got together and reviewed Super Showdown, October Faction, the comic, October Faction, the Netflix show, Five Finger Death Punch Fate, The Invisible Man, and Adesanya versus Yoel Romero. Whew. Have you seen that one?
No.
Okay, Google it. It's like performance art.
Nice.
It's not quite a fight. Adesanya versus Yoel Romero. Watch it and then wonder what you're doing with your life.
Nobody has their hands in their pocket, right?
Close. At one point, I thought Yoel Romero was doing the Drax thing from Infinity War, where he was standing so still as to not be seen by the naked eye.
I didn't see that either.
It's hard to do these shows with you, sir.
I pride myself on being a very difficult co-host and guest, so yes.
It's like doing it with somebody from another country. Like, well, you see, there's this thing called Marvel.
Yeah, I was actually a mannequin this morning, so this is there's a reference I do know. So there you go.
Perfect. Were you riding around on the back of someone's motorcycle?
Crazy stuff. Yeah.
All right, go ahead and plug your stuff, buddy.
Sure. You can find me every day over at chrisisoninfiniteearths.com, where I talk about a different DC or DC-adjacent book every single day, just past 1,500 consecutive days. And I've started a new little sub heading of articles here that I'm very excited about, called the DC Near Miss, where I'm taking a look at comics that came out from other companies that were originally supposed to come out through DC Comics, and for whatever reason were passed on. Today, as we're recording this, I covered a character called Ms. Mystic, who it's a Neil Adams creation. Neil Adams and Mike Nasser created her, and she was eventually published through Pacific Comics, but made her first appearance on the very iconic cover of Superman vs. Muhammad Ali. So very interesting stuff. I'm having a lot of fun with that. It's really reinvigorated my passion for blogging, despite the fact that still nobody cares. Now, you can also find me over at chrisandreggie.com, where we will hopefully be relaunching very soon, or at least I'll be relaunching some shows real soon. I got some stuff in the hopper, just waiting to have enough to where I don't do one thing and then let it sit for a few months. So building up a backlog to get a nice relaunch going. So look forward to that if you like hearing me ramble.
All right, Chris, always a pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
The next wrestling review that we'll all be doing will be WrestleMania weekend.
The biggie.
Yes. We'll bunch together NXT and WrestleMania 36. Maybe Effie's Big Gay brunch. No Holds Barred, whatever else I can get you guys to watch.
Is Zeus in that?
No Holds Barred? No, this is a different. The ropes are made of chains. Don't you understand?
Oh wow!
Yes.
So do they bounce off of those too? Hopefully,
they run into them hard.
Nice.
But we'll definitely be doing that around this time, Wednesday, April 8th, WrestleMania 36 weekend. NXT Tampa, WrestleMania 36 at Raymond James Stadium. Unless we don't, because the coronavirus canceled everything. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. We could just have we could do some performance art and just have like a 2-hour-long silent podcast. Yes,
it would be very interesting.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Very Andy Kaufman-esque.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you for joining us here on TV Party tonight. For Chris Sheehan of the Cosmic Treadmill podcast, and Chris is on Infinite Earths. I got it right that time.
There you go.
Be well, be safe, and behave.
See ya.